They do have a unique home venue, a unique home environment, and now taking on a unique opponent. It's really about putting those finishing, polishing touches on heading into the season opener.
Yeah, and it's a very tough and tall task. A lot of these players are coming off their spring college seasons, and so they may be asked to play in a different style. They may be asked to play a different position and to come in right away and compete against an opponent as well. That's tough. You're still learning your teammates. How do they want to play? What type of run are they going to make? How do they want to receive a ball? Are they comfortable with pressure on their back? So these are all little nuanced things that these players are still learning about each other.
That also is part of the fascinating difference between these two clubs is on the flip side for Kansas City Current too, where they're playing an exhibition schedule under the banner of the WPSL. They have a much more finite amount of time together than Aurora, who have 12 games plus ideally playoffs for Minnesota. Whereas KC Current 2, this is used more as identifying talent for the future of Kansas City Current. And that's something that Vasil Ristov talked about, especially with the NWSL draft going away recently with the new collective bargaining agreement signed by the Players Association. That allows them to bring in even younger talent.
Yes.
There are a handful of current high school players on this KC Current 2 roster. And it's, as I should say, Zbilic weaving through. Hey, the players aren't the only ones working stuff out early on. Overberg looking for options going forward. This headed back on. Unable to tightrope that touchline out wide was Bella Diorio.
Yeah, I'd like to see if we can possibly use Nadia a little bit here. Can we draw Kansas City higher up the field to expose space elsewhere? I know that's part of what Coach Larrick has talked about before is, utilizing the ball as a tool to manipulate the opponent and taking value of having possession of the ball.
Rolled ahead, deflected, and falling toward Mariah Wynn. Wynn cuts inside. Diamond gives it up. Now rolled back ahead. Here's Helen Schaefer. Schaefer on her right. Helps it along. Wynn bumped off the ball and will give it back up to Overberg. Back down that far channel, headed away from danger. Mariah Wynn back on it, and it's a corner won by Aurora FC.
That's really positions you want to start seeing Mariah in 1v1 out wide, able to create with space in front of her.
In-swinging ball right into the gloves of Vitali. And that will cancel out any danger that presented.
That's the type of pass we're looking for. A really good decision there.
Here's Rapp with it. We'll carry it on. Diamond's pass forward. A bit telegraphed there. Intercepted by Kansas City Current. And they'll steer this safely back to Evie Vitali.
And Jake, if you don't mind, I'd like to go back to that decision from Jelena. Defending phase, team's fairly organized. She does a great job winning the ball, and with that first moment, she secures it. She finds a pass away from pressure, gives the team a moment to breathe. What I'd really like to see then is, because we're not organized yet as a group, is just taking a moment to let the game breathe. So move the ball a little bit, let our team open up and create space, and then start to invite that pressure again.
Cooper under duress, has to clear it away. Struggles with the reception. Austin Miller coughed it up. And now Overberg will bail them out. Short clearance. Back out wide. This is Mariah Wynn. just out of the reach of Austin Miller and taken back away by KC Current 2. It goes back, though, to what you talked about earlier, a prime example of it. Players still learning how each other make runs, how they receive the ball, and that chemistry does take time. When you do condense it down, though, into a 12-match season, you're definitively guaranteed 12 matches, Minnesota Aurora are. That makes it all the much more important to make the most of your opportunities in friendlies and training opportunities.
100%, you nailed it. Training is massive for sure. Being able to have these exhibition games, though, I know this is a fantastic ad for both groups, because you're really getting the opportunity to see each other under pressure on a full-size field against an opponent. It's one thing when you show up into training and you're playing each other, but to have an opponent to play against is massive.
I thought Vasil Ristov had a very interesting point he made earlier this week as well. The other wrinkle, it's not talked about a ton, about an opportunity like this for these teams. He said it's the opportunity, as that's cleared out for a Minnesota throw-in, it's the opportunity to collaborate with like-minded organizations. They really do see an organization like Minnesota as almost a peer organization in terms of the expectations, the growth, the fan support. Ristov likened the atmosphere during regular season Aurora matches to like what they see at CPKC Stadium where Kansas City Current play.
Well, and that's how the game grows, right? You create an atmosphere and an environment for players that want to play competitively, but it's also the joy and the fun. Aurora has had phenomenal fans that come out and support this group, and I think any team that comes here would agree with that statement. Just how much of a professional environment it feels like, and having groups that see that opportunity, like KC2, it's only going to continue to help grow the game. And I really like that we're using Nadia's feet here.
The usage of the feet is something that comes up a lot with the modern-day goalkeeping position. I remember I was talking about this with Saskia Weber a few weeks ago as this rolled back forward and will come to rest in the gloves of Evie Vitali. That really is where the modern-day goalkeeping position is going, though, being able to utilize them almost as an extra distributor, an extra attacker even. You hear so many coaches say, attacks now start at the back. Your goalkeeper is your first attacker.
Absolutely. That's how you're going to create number advantage. You're playing 11v10 at that point because your goalkeeper is not going to come up and actively defend unless it's a 1v1 situation. However, that's how you're always going to create your +1. And then the goal is how do you find that +1? How do you advance that +1 closer and closer to goal? And how do you do it repetitively and consistently?
And yes, I will own that that was a shameless name drop right there.
I love it.
Kansas City Current 2 with the throw. They fling this one ahead. Overberg on it. And we'll give it up to Cooper.
As much as we've been talking about a keeper's feet, those are situations where I don't necessarily want us to have to consistently put her in. It's great that we can play with that pressure, but we want to try to avoid those. Maybe play that pass a little bit sooner if we can.
20 minutes in, still no score. Also still no official shots on target for either Kansas City Current 2 or Aurora FC. Working this one ahead, it's Ava Westland. It goes out. Minnesota will have the throw. Eli Rapp will pull the strings on this throw in for Aurora FC. Rostered a season ago with Minnesota, but did not see official time, was rehabbing an injury ahead of that college soccer season. But now she is back and making the most of her time. 4th season along with her other 2 sisters, Kat and Rami.
No, it's good to see her back and healthy again. Injuries are always an unfortunate part of the game, but they are a part of the game.
Miller gives it up. Now this from distance from Schaefer. And it goes skipping wide of the near post. It took over 20 minutes, but we do finally have our first shot of this contest. That speaks more, Mandy, to the defensive mindedness we've seen from these two teams early on.
Yeah, I think some of it is, again, you don't want to risk too much too early. You don't want to put yourself on a back foot necessarily. But it is also, teams are organized to an extent. You know, we've seen a couple miscues here and there, so not always going according to how we hope they would go. And so I think that just kind of plays into it. A lot of transition at times as well. Teams are starting to settle down a little bit, have a little bit more of the ball for a longer period of time. So as we continue to eliminate some of those transitional moments, those chaotic moments, hopefully we'll see a little bit more fluidity in the attack.
Cleared away from Schaefer and now worked back ahead. This is Sam Williams, the former Stanford Cardinal. She'll give it up. Addie Lang on it now. Too much weight behind that ball out wide. Could not find Megan Hinnekamp. Wynn trying to win it back, and instead will win a foul and a free kick for Aurora. It's areas like that she's so good at as a player. It's not just the goal-scoring ability, it's getting herself into situations to create opportunities.
Yeah, and I like what I first saw from Westy there as well. She did a better job with pressure on her back. Now, I'd like to see her be a little bit stronger, not allow that player to come through, but it invites her teammates to come forward with her, which is why Mariah is able to get up and draw that foul on the recovery.
Get us one back!
Schaefer lifts this into a crowd, nodded toward goal. Vitali came out. The flag does come up offside.
I like to see that initial flick, though, and having Mariah on the backside there. It's a good set piece from Aurora.
Aurora no stranger to those header goals off crosses as well. 2 seasons ago, it was 6 header goals on set pieces off crosses. Mariah Wynn involved in many of those in that 2023 campaign. Opportunity here, but the flag will come up. Sam Williams just got in early. When you're trying to play that last defender, sometimes it can be a little difficult.
It can. Timing is everything, and I think as we've seen with the professional game with VAR coming into play, just how small sometimes those margins can be. You know, whether it's a toe or a hand. But realistically, it's you want to frame your body to see that last defender so you can time that run as the pass is being played.
Riggs will work this one ahead, and it's headed out by Minnesota. Throw given to Kansas City. Throw finds the feet of Livy Moore. Thought she had an option out wide, tried to lay it off, and instead it goes for a goal kick.
Casey's really focused their attack so far through the middle.
Cooper gets play back going as Overberg will give it up out wide.
The official Minnesota Aurora FC first 10.
I'm surprised we didn't get that one.
Stop by to see our latest jersey. Some items that
You can tell Mariah's not pleased there.
Long throw in for Kansas City. Rapp able to coat it well defensively, and it goes for another throw in. Rapp looking for options on this long throw. Still able to glance it forward. So far, Mandy, Kansas City has really made that midfield third of this pitch, that line of demarcation. They've not allowed Minnesota to consistently get across the middle stripe.
Yeah, I think we'll start to see Aurora try to switch the ball a little bit more, especially maybe as Coach Laird goes into the locker room at halftime and talks with the group.
Those switching passes are part of the tactical identity more that she wants to see from this Minnesota side. Didn't feel like they did a good enough job of that against Indy 11. So I felt like they just thumped the ball forward too quickly, too often. Now here's Rapp on it. She'll give it up. Cycled around. Here's Harai. Harai's cross, looking for that far post, and just fiddled wide.
Aurora doing a better job moving the ball again, but also getting numbers forward into the box. That's what we want to see more and more from this group. Part of it's being patient, allowing the moment to come. We had 2v1 on the backside there, so are those moments that we can start to be a little bit more aggressive with and take advantage of.
A flash of brilliance there for the soon-to-be Utah State Aggie, Cooney Harai, a four-time All-State pick in high school in Boise. She can score goals in bunches as well. 24 career goal contributions at the prep level. Here's KC Current at the byline. Laid this back off, sent over the bar and wide. A prompt response from Kansas City's offense.
Yeah, as one team starts to get a little bit more rhythm, gets a few more chances, it can also open you up defensively.
Cooper's goal clearance forward. One back by Kansas City Current. It is out for a KC throw in. Here's Briggs. Give and go. Back in the middle. Wilson. Still Wilson. Can't put it on target, and that has been the story of the first half offensively for Kansas City. Up to 3 shots, Mandy, but none have found their way toward Nadia Cooper.
No, I would say that's probably been their best opportunity yet, but did a really good job to stay in front of the ball and at least position yourself defensively to force that ball to go wide.
Coming up on the half-hour mark played, 0-0 between Kansas City Current 2 and Minnesota Aurora FC. KC Current on it now. Trying to tightrope that touchline was Livy Moore and cannot. Change of possession will occur as Bielich will have a quick throw for Minnesota. Bielich tries to work it ahead on this near touchline. Worked back down now by Kansas City. The flag will come up. Just in an offside position was Sydney Watts. Aurora has made it part of their identity, Mandy, to be that good counter-pressing team, but through large stretches of this first half so far, we've seen Kansas City be able to neutralize that and in turn use counter-pressing to their advantage.
Yeah, and it's going to go both ways, right? You're not going to always be successful to win the ball back right away. And part of that is you maybe set a certain limitation for your team of like, hey, if we can't win it back in the first 4 or 5 seconds, we're going to reset into our team shape. Maybe it's a pass count if they're completing 2-3 passes. Maybe it's based off space. So it's realistically what is the team set up to do, and then if we don't meet that target, we regain our team shape and we go from there.
Minnesota will make its first change of their second preseason friendly. Nadia Cooper will trot off the pitch, and in comes Bayless Flynn. Flynn spent last season with Minnesota Aurora too. Prior to that, part of the first-team roster, and most notably coming off a banner year collegiately with the Montana Grizzlies.
One thing I had to say about Bayless, she is a professional in every aspect of how she conducts herself. Very impressive.
Here's Addie Lang now. The aforementioned Bayless Flynn, this most recent NCAA campaign's national leader in save percentage. A .925 save percentage. It doesn't get much better than that. That is a extremely impressive mark, and that will be hard to top in her coming collegiate seasons.
But if I'm a coach and I'm looking at that number, I'm drooling over it, because defensively, if you know you can keep a team at 0, you're always in the game. You always have a chance.
No foul given by the center referee. Skylar Briggs was trying to fight through challenges. She comes up worse for wear there. Lost not 1 but 2 shin pads. And it is a throw in, quickly taken. Headed back on by Minnesota. Ooh. Heavy challenge from Westland in the middle. And that will draw a whistle from Dawson. And the free kick taken by Kansas City. Trying to work it down that far channel is Kansas City. That over the head and out for a Minnesota Aurora throw in. Minnesota had started to find its footing offensively. It was spending a bit more time in the Kansas City Current end of things around that 20th minute mark. But Mandy, the tide has shifted a bit. Kansas City starting to live more on this side of half field.
Yeah, I think we just need to get on the ball a little bit more, calm down, not force the ball going forward. A little bit of an example here. Get the ball on the floor. Let's play with it at our feet. Let's manipulate the opponent by moving the ball. And then change of speed. That's one thing that I haven't quite seen yet. We've been able to switch the ball back and forth, but I want to see us change the pace of our attack once we expose them.
Some issues at the back. Shot sent toward Flynn, who parries it aside. A corner conceded to Kansas City there first.
It's a really good opportunity from Kansas City, and I really like the save from Bayless there. She does well to get down to make that save.
Sydney Watts, 9 goals a season ago for the Vanderbilt Commodores in 21 appearances, very nearly finding the opener. In swinging ball, lifted high. Flynn comes out with the punch.
And that's what you want to see from your goalkeeper. You want to see them being brave, coming out, owning their box. That's really one of the things that I consistently talked about, at least as a coach, is like, I need the goalkeeper on set pieces to be able to own that 6-yard box. Anything coming into that space, it's yours. Creates a little bit more clarity for your defenders as far as what their defensive responsibilities are.
Some pushing and shoving on the boundary line. And now a whistle sounds as Harai took a tumble.
Just going to be a brief conversation here, warning the player.
I feel like you have to do a lot to get booked in a preseason friendly. It almost has to be super egregious.
You want the goal of the exhibition is to see players play. So the second that you start tossing out yellow cards, it changes a little bit of how a player is going to go into a tackle. If you're on a yellow card, you have to be a little bit more cautious going into that next one, perhaps.
That's, of course, not to say it doesn't happen.
Not at all.
There's Charlie Boone. Make it 2 Montana Grizzlies on the pitch with the substitution of Bayless Flynn at the 30th minute mark. This falls back to Schaefer. Boone looking for options ahead. Instead, an errant pass forward out and a long throw in for Kansas City.
Just trading of those moments there, Jake.
Kind of sums up the idea of the preseason friendly, though, why you play matches like this. You get the bugs out before the matches start counting toward wins and losses and a league table, points on the line.
Absolutely. I'd much rather those passes come in this match than next week, on Thursday.
Hard to believe. It's less than a week away. I'm sure Jen Larrick shares your thoughts as Flynn will clear that away, and I'm sure Vasil Ristov also shares those thoughts as well. A unique opportunity coming up for Ristov's Kansas City Current 2 side. Once they wrap up their 3 exhibition contests, they'll take part in the soccer tournament as the flag comes up. Mariah Wynn just a little ahead of herself. That a different frame of mind, the TST tournament, because it's 7-a-side as opposed to 11v11. You and I were talking about this before going on air, and that creates some unique questions for Kansas City Current in terms of roster construction as well.
Absolutely. 11v11 is so different than 7v7, and one of the things you have to consider is how technical is a player. You're going to be in a smaller, tighter space. Can you quickly move the ball? How do they deal with pressure? And it's a faster speed, and you don't have as much space to then exploit. So sometimes for those players who are incredibly fast, it's helpful, but is it necessarily going to be the runs that you can make in behind? Not the same as what you see here today.
In spite of all of that, though, Vasil Ristov this week, he did say that as they continue to put the roster together for the TST, that he feels like they've assembled a team that can not just go out there and challenge the field, but he thinks that they might have a legit shot to win it as well. More importantly, though, he did say that as an organization, Kansas City thought it was a really unique opportunity to engage the world stage with the Kansas City Current brand. Of course, the world is becoming very familiar with the Kansas City brand because of the players, the plays and players like Debinha on their roster. But Ristov did say that it gives them another opportunity to showcase that brand to the world. The TST has really exploded over the last couple years and become the it thing to do in the soccer world.
Yeah, it's a good opportunity. I know that I believe they've included a prize purse, which is also something that is enticing for teams to come out and compete. So it definitely adds some value there. But again, it's another opportunity for these players to get out and be seen. That is one of the most important things.
Aurora also with their own smaller connections, not an official team, but last summer of soccer, the TST team, community owner Jamie Watson partaking as other community owners did.
This is where we want to see Aurora be able to take some of this space back. Unless they've sent a certain line of confrontation that they don't want to go press within a specific space, but a long backward pass that's in the air that they can't do anything with, that's really where we want them to step as a group.
Rolled in behind, it's Watts. Her cross blocked away. Falls back to Watts, tried to thread it back through. All over it defensively was Minnesota. The key now is trying to find a way to break out, pinned back deep. Vasil Ristov was very adamant this week that while, yes, there is a talent difference between the NWSL side and KC Current 2, The goal is still the same. They want to play stylistically similar, stick to the same principles set forth by Vlatko Andonovski and Kansas City Current's first-team head coaching staff. Mandy, we're seeing a lot of those same principles at play in terms of the rotations, in terms of attacking in those waves. Kansas City Current, too, have had great success in this first half playing out of that identity.
Yeah, and I think one of the other things that you're seeing is that it's not everything's forward. A lot of times, you have certain teams and there's no right or wrong way to play the game. It's just how you decide to execute your principles and your game model. And so overall, it's been more so you have special players with the first team, with Dabina, with Shawinga, and it does change a little bit of the execution, but overall, I love that they want to have their DNA be a staple of how they play.
Ristov did say that part of that, his adamant nature of wanting to play that same style as the first team, is he feels like synergy across the organization is so important to the development of younger players as they work their way up through the organization.
You're not starting over from scratch. That's one of the important things, is there's some consistency and some continuity between what those expectations are. So if you get an opportunity with that first team, you should be able to just blend right into the fold and know what those expectations are.
And you know this from being a former second-team coach within this organization for Minnesota, the synergy that can exist between first and second team and how beneficial that can be.
It makes it so much easier for the players. More than anything, the goal is, as a second team, we want players to go and get opportunities with the first team. That should be our primary goal, is to help them get into those opportunities.
Worked ahead, it's Sam Williams now. Tries to turn on it and can't get a good shot off. Flynn will scoop that one up.
A little more direct here from Bayless. And Ava has some pace.
Here's Westland now, able to pick the pocket of the defender. Keeper comes out, open net, just pushed wide by Wynn.
I really love that awareness from Ava to get the ball out to Mariah. She's not balanced. She doesn't have the opportunity to take a shot. So instead, she picks her head up and finds a player facing forward, looking at goal. Unfortunate it's a little bit wide, but I still like the opportunity to put pressure on their back line there.
A frantic moment at the back, and now issues at the back continuing for KC. Here's Wynn, lets it fly, and that will take a hop wide. Mandy, how about the way this Aurora offense has responded these last 5 minutes?
No, I think it's been very positive. You can see they're finally getting players who are facing forward, taking some space, looking to go at goal. And that's, again, one of the things that we want, right? We want attacking players who are facing forward that can go be creative and what they're best at.
Rapp will watch that one. Slow roll across the far touchline. Coming up to the tail end of this first 45 minutes. Still no score between these teams. A strong tackle laid off. Now here is Minnesota Aurora, and Austin Miller gives it up to Harai. Tries to cut to her right. Whistle sounds. And this free kick awarded in quite the inviting position.
I love this set piece. This is a fantastic space. Maybe a little bit tight of an angle, but definitely something that I think we'll see put on frame. I know last season Katie was very consistent as far as being dangerous on those set pieces, so that's really what we want to continue to breed into this Aurora team.
That being Katie Duong, now of USL Super League fame with DC Power. The tail end of the USL Super League regular season upon us. Carolina-St clinching the first ever league shield. But Mandy, going back to this free kick as Schaefer hovers over it. A chance here, just a few steps outside the 18. Schaefer curls it toward goal, stopped by Vitali.
I know she'll be a little disappointed with that, but that's a good opportunity to see, kind of get a good look at goal. Build a little bit of confidence. Obviously, it would have been nice going into the half up 1-0, but we'll take it and continue to create going forward.
A scoreless slugfest through 45 minutes of play as Alex Dawson sounds the whistle. We've reached halftime in Eagan, Minnesota. 0-0 at the halftime whistle. We'll head to break and return
I'm a breast cancer survivor. I've had such great care at the Allina Health Cancer Institute. They acted so quickly. They never, ever let me feel alone. And they said, have you heard of the Dragon Divas? Go! We're a team of breast cancer survivors. I almost feel lucky to be able to be in the boat with them. That spirit of being strong and being hopeful, that's a spirit of survivor.
Expert care you can trust. Allina Health. Altogether better.
Twin Cities Orthopedics is ready to go with more doctors, specialty services, and convenient urgent care locations. Ready, set, TCO.
Back in Eagan, Minnesota, it's 0-0 at the 45-minute break between Kansas City Current 2 and Minnesota Aurora FC. All about defense through 45 minutes of play as these two offenses continue to find their way through the infancy of this 2025 season, along with Mandy Pokobradsky, Jake Griffith, all set to go for half number 2. Mandy, Aurora had their chances early on, but the defense of Kansas City Current responded in kind.
Yeah, we started to see chances actually for both teams as the half progressed. So it'll be interesting to see where we pick up. Looks like we're going to get a couple changes here from Aurora, possibly 1 or 2 from KC. So we'll see how those players come in and impact the game.
One shot on target between these teams, and it rests with Kansas City Current, the visitors in this preseason exhibition. A good crowd on hand here at TCO Stadium to take in the first ever meeting between these two sides. Aurora fans, they're never going to miss an opportunity to come take in a match that involves Minnesota Aurora FC. That trend continuing here in this Sunday exhibition. As we talked about in that first half, though, Mandy, yes, it's been defensive-minded, but it also has been a lack of finishing touch of these offenses when they have had opportunities in toward the final third. For Kansas City Current, they've had several progressive runs in toward that final third, but when they get in, it just fizzles out.
Yeah, it's lacking the composure in the final moment. And that might be the selection. Should this be the player that should be taking the shot? Is there one more pass we're looking for? Or is it just we're still waiting on the cleanliness of that final moment?
As for Minnesota Aurora, one of the big emphasis after the Indy 11 draw in their first exhibition, Jin Larrick, their head coach, wanted to see them pick their spots going forward better. Do you think they're being a little too choosy when going forward, considering the lack of times they've tried to go forward?
I think it's finding the right balance. I think that Coach Larrick's going to be happy that they're starting to swing the ball a little bit more because realistically I don't think we saw enough of our central midfielders involved in the attack. And that's part of what's I think lacking a little bit is how do we continue to pull apart their defense to create numbers going forward. And so for me, the biggest thing is as we're looking to incorporate that switch, it's the change of pace when we decide we want to go forward. That's the moment I haven't quite seen yet where we want to speed the game up to unbalance that defensive team.
0-0 at the start of the second half between Kansas City Current and Minnesota Aurora. Alex Dolson, the center referee, and we're back underway at TCO Stadium for half number 2. Aurora still looking for their first official shot on target. They do have 3 shots to their credit. They have withstood some significant offensive pressure from Kansas City Current too, but we haven't seen a lot of this. The transitional moments for Minnesota as it's steered wide to Rapp, lifted in toward Calhoun, nodded down toward goal, and lunging for it, Evie Vitali.
But that's the speed up of the tempo that we're looking for, Jake. Again, putting the defender on their heels, running at them, making them uncomfortable.
Minnesota opting to make one change at the halftime break. Evelyn Calhoun comes on. Now Miller works it ahead, and it's scooped up by Kansas City Current 2.
With the start of the second half, in from Minnesota Aurora FC, number 22, Stella Lawson. Number 45, Annie Williams. Number 10, Ava Bjorkman-Tracy. Number 5, Evelyn Calhoun.
You can see Aurora there at the start of the second half getting a little bit more pressure higher up the field as KC's looking to build out.
In addition to the change of bringing on Evelyn Calhoun, a first-year player for this Aurora side, Ava Bjorkman-Tracy also trots onto the pitch for the first time in half number 2. As does Annie Williams, the Minnesota native. Guided back to Flynn, who will clear it away under duress. Now a whistle from Alex Dolson.
Yeah, it looks like Ava Westland just started in an offside position coming back to that ball.
Kansas City Current making changes of their own at the halftime break as Sophie Dahl, the Tennessee native, comes in for the second half at the goalkeeper spot. Now here is Kansas City. Shot fired wide again. Bella Field couldn't put it on net. Kansas City playing such an aggressive high line right now defensively. Aurora able to earn another goal clearance for Bayless Flynn.
Bayless is going to get them up and in. She's going to play long here. The importance of this aspect is you had to be prepared for that second ball. If you play in long, it's one thing to win the first ball, but being prepared for that next one as well.
Defender goes to ground. One back by Kansas City. A well-timed challenge by Severns.
Again, we want to see Aurora coming and taking some of this space. We committed the first defender. We all have to go once she decides to step. Otherwise, this is where we start to see gaps between our players.
Kansas City has been able to find opportunities, Mandy, in those gaps between Aurora players. As a result, they are stretching the pitch out and really making things wide right now.
Yeah, and that's the whole point, right? We talked about the superiorities, and so space is one of those superiorities. And how you utilize that space can maybe put the player you want on the ball in an advantageous space or in a position, and then you want them to be able to create going forward. Casey's had some better patience here to start the half of just being comfortable playing with the ball in the back, looking to make Aurora shift side to side. That's really where those gaps start to play, is making defenders have to shift side to side and then changing the tempo of the game.
Why do those constant shifts side to side create so many gaps in a defense?
It really, well, one, you have movement that's involved. You have to cover more space, but you also have to have a team that's communicating well, that's able to read each other's body language, being able to read each other's decisions and knowing when and how to step. Whose responsibility is it, and how do we cover the space when they choose to go forward?
Alex Dawson sounds the whistle. Annie Williams whistled for the infraction, and it's a free kick given to Kansas City Current. It's given up to Paul. Some issues here. One back by Westland. Flick toward goal. It's in! Aurora finds the breakthrough 50 minutes in.
Oh, Jake, I'm so happy to see that. So that's where that pressure becomes so important. Players who aren't comfortable with pressure on them have the tendency to give the ball away. And as you can see, because the rest of the Aurora team was ready to go, able to step up, intercept the bad pass, and finish. So yeah, we're going to see this pressure. Ava Westland, just a phenomenal job to keep her composure, recognize it's an open net, and just nice and easy place it in the back.
Kansas City Current, too. They've had some struggles distributing out of the back in this contest. Hadn't come back to bite them yet, but it does. Ava Westland gets Minnesota Aurora on the board for the first time in 2025.
I like the adjustment from the coaching staff to start adding pressure higher up the pitch, and you can see it was a positive result.
First-year Aurora head coach Jen Larrick had said that she wanted to see her team take more advantage of pinning teams back deep. She said, look, we forced them all the way back. We were able to get that ball in the advantageous position. We just need to do something with it. It doesn't always have to be pretty, as long as it goes in the back of the net, and that's exactly what happened.
Goal counts the same way, regardless of how it goes in. That one's got to feel good for Aurora.
A long throw in, nodded away by Westland.
We look at the work ethic here just to close that space. That's not an easy run to continuously work and add that pressure to force the decision.
Trying to shake free of challenges as Bree Severns. One back, advantage played to Aurora. Lawson looking for Wynn, who goes down, and that will be a free kick given. You have to respect the tenacity of a player like a Mariah Wynn. Look, I know that I am a vertically challenged human being, so I am not throwing any shade, but Mariah Wynn gives up a lot of height. She's 5'3", but she is not afraid to get in there and mix it up in the land of the trees with much taller players.
As a shorter person myself here, growing up you learn how to best position yourself and how to use your body to put yourself in positions that you know you can go and compete and win. You're not always going to be successful every time, but the importance is you have to learn. And she's done really well with her time here and obviously continues throughout her collegiate career. So really excited to see how she continues to grow as a player.
The best position I was able to put myself in, retire from sports immediately. I had no future in them. Go into broadcasting. I think it's worked out.
It's done you wonders.
Kansas City Current 2 will get play back underway with the free kick. Mandy, if you're KC Current, you've had the lion's share of the possession in this contest. You have the advantage in total shots. How can you make this possession more purposeful?
Well, as you can see, they have 4 players, almost 5 players high up on Aurora's back line, but aren't finding that target to bypass their midfield. If you're going to get that many players against the back line, you got to be able to get the ball into their feet because you're essentially going 4-on-4. That's 1v1s across the board. You want your attacking players to be able to dominate those, and that's not a position Aurora wants to get caught. But however, Aurora's done such a fantastic job getting pressure that KC doesn't have the capacity or ability to hit a longer pass right now, which is why Aurora's okay with it.
Here's Lang. Tries to work it back outside. Wanted DiBernardo, and there is a whistle, the flag up on the far side. Minnesota set to make another change as Sage Wimes, the Kansas Jayhawk, set to come on at the first available opportunity. Wimes was chatting around the facilities earlier before this contest, and somebody asked her, so what do you know about Kansas City Current, and especially Kansas City Current 2? And she said, hey, I have a lot of teammates on this Kansas City Current roster. I grew up with a lot of these players. A real homecoming away from home opportunity for Sage Wimes.
Well, it's such a fun opportunity. You train and you play against these players all year at school, and then to come out and have a different uniform on, it just brings a little bit of a good banter with each other.
Those Kansas Jayhawks coming off a banner year in program history. Sage Wimes, Asa Conte, Aurora players for the Kansas Jayhawks, leading Kansas to the NCAA tournament, won the Big 12 championship, coincidentally, at CPKC Stadium in Kansas City, Missouri. They ultimately fell to St. Louis University in the opening round of the NCAA Women's Soccer Championships this year. Counter-pressing now is Kansas City. On it now is Wilson. Lifts it in. Fumbling around with it. Now Calhoun will leap on top of it and clear it away from any danger. Pass left short. Intercepted, though, by Minnesota.
Well done to let the game breathe there. Not prepared to play and go forward, so instead just chooses to play backwards, relax a little bit again, let the team catch their breath, get their shape.
Worked back forward. Here's Wynn. Wynn will roll this one ahead. In behind, it's Miller. Austin Miller, what a save! The rebound, fired over the bar!
That's still so much better from Aurora taking advantage of those situations and Ava putting herself to get that rebound.
Aurora's offense starting to click, heading toward that 60th minute mark.
That initial pass from Mariah just absolutely could eat that off of a plate.
Headed back on now by Williams. A glancing header forward. Kansas City will come up with possession on it. Aurora has been able to flip the script these last 5 minutes, not just thanks to the goal, but as we posed regarding Kansas City earlier, Minnesota being more purposeful with their possession. You talk to any coach, and possession numbers for the longest time in soccer, as here comes Kansas City counter-pressing now.
It's a really good tackle there.
Well-timed by Camber Hayes. The danger not averted, though. Castens gets it back. There's Castens again. Stands this cross up. And Flynn will claim that. Going back to it, though, you talk to any coach, and for so long, possession was the it number in soccer. Analytical data is starting to change that, especially with the rise of expected goals. But you talk to any coach now, and they say, yeah, look, it's great to have the abundance of the possession. But the one word I hear the most chatting to coaches is purposeful with that possession. For you, a coach, what does that mean to be purposeful with the possession?
Listen, Jake, the ball is great. However, if you don't know how you want to utilize the ball, it's not going to matter. You're relying on chaos. And chaos isn't something that you can replicate with consistency or continuity in any way, shape, or form. So being purposeful just means we're going to take care of the ball, but create our chances. We want to create, again, those superiorities. So many coaches, yes, don't want to have to continue to give the ball away, win it back, because that's very taxing. However, it's also about how you design your game model. Some teams are okay having fewer possessions because they're going to be quicker into the attack.
Sage Wimes checks on for the first time. 11 goal contributions a season ago in 8 starts for Sage Wimes.
It's a really positive run from Sage.
It wins a throw-in for Minnesota. There were so many times a season ago that Sage Wimes would make runs exactly like that, able to slip in behind. The match against RKC Third Coast comes to mind as Aurora will make yet another change. Taylor Kane will come in at the 60th minute mark. 30-minute increments for all 3 netminders this evening for Minnesota.
This match in particular is going to be a really good opportunity for the coaching staff to see all 3 goalkeepers in a game-like situation. Something that they want to know going into the regular season, depending on what the game demands in that moment.
Paul able to thump that clear, and now trying to turn this into something is Kansas City.
Entering the game, Minnesota Aurora FC.
An impressive job there by Minnesota, able to maintain their shape and get back defensively.
Leaving the game, number 30, Bayless Land.
Again, we're going to see how KC does as far as advancing the ball. As you can see, they have their 2 midfielders there, getting 5 high up on the Aurora line. But they have to be able to find that entry pass. Otherwise, this kind of goes back to our purposeful possession conversation.
They say numbers never lie, right? But you can absolutely manipulate the numbers to showcase certain types of data. And that is the gripe that coaches have, especially with the advancement of soccer analytics, is that you can look at the possession numbers and it doesn't really tell you, okay, well, maybe this team just fiddled with it at the back the entire time for 90 full minutes.
And you just nailed it, is where is that possession occurring on the field? Yeah, if you have 90% of it in your defensive third, the number of opportunities you're creating going forward, not many.
Calhoun lays it off. Here's Lawson. Rolls it through. It's cleared away.
So in those moments, you're going to have to be really, really clean in any opportunities you get in front of goal.
Aurora's final third entries have markedly improved as this second half has carried on, Mandy. And they have a throw in toward that final third for their efforts. Westland lifts it in. Wine's able to put a header toward goal, but not dangerous enough to challenge Sophie Daw. Boone is there. She'll steer this back to Taylor Kane. Taylor Kane really turned heads with her play last year in net for Minnesota Aurora. Seized that starting job. Ended up finishing with a top 10 goals against average in the league.
I know we didn't have the broadcast going last weekend, but Taylor made a fantastic diving backwards one-handed save that went up over the bar. And it was probably one of the best opportunities that Indy had last weekend.
Distributed forward by Daw. Rapp will jump on it. Now here's Calhoun. Evelyn Calhoun, no stranger to the WPSL, spent the last summer with the San Francisco Nighthawks of the WPSL. Former All-Ivy League selection at Brown before transferring over to University of Minnesota. Calhoun has it. Now taken down, and that will be a whistle.
I really like that she gets up right away wanting to play. Get the game going, getting restarted, but understanding, hey, we're not there yet. Settles it down. And again, we're just letting the game breathe a little bit here. It's a really positive pass.
Bjorkman Tracy. Muscled away from the ball. Change of possession will occur via the throw in. Kansas City will make a change as Livy Moore will come on.
Entering the game from KC 32, number 60, Olivia Moore. Leaving the game, number 64, Lydia Fugasha.
Over a half hour gone in this contest. Minnesota with the narrow 1-0 lead. But Mandy, as this second half has started to drag on, that 1-0 lead's turning a bit more, I don't want to say insurmountable, but the way Aurora is playing as this second half has dragged on is a promising sign for Jen Larrick, starting to flex their muscles.
Yeah, the players definitely seem a bit more confident and are growing into this game, taking chances, but they're getting numbers forward. Some really good runs from Sage since I've seen her come on as well, the way she bends her run to create space for that next pass. I really enjoy seeing the fact that they're starting to take some chances, getting numbers forward.
There's Eli Rapp on it. She'll work it ahead. Lawson flicks it out wide. At that end line, and it does roll across for a goal kick awarded.
You can see Aurora staying with the high press, been successful here. Want to continue to see if we can create another chance. As a coach, it's so much better to win the ball right in front of the goal you want to go scoring than having to build over 100 yards again.
Bjorkman Tracy able to sidestep one. Now two challenges. Up ahead, it's Lawson. Just behind Annie Williams.
The idea is there. Just maybe if we open up the opposite direction, better body shape to play that next pass forward into the path of the run instead of where the run was.
Lawson back on it now. Again, Aurora having that success, high pressing. That's not just a Jen Larrick idea either. That is an identity that is carried on now into the third different coaching staff for Minnesota Aurora FC, wanting to press teams back into a low block, suffocate them. As here's Lawson carrying it inside. Lawson cuts to her left. It falls back to Aurora. There's Miller. Lets it fly. And that goes sailing high.
Jake, that all goes back to being part of the Aurora DNA, though. I know initially when the club came together, part of what the coaching staff sought was to be attack-minded, and that includes when you don't have the ball. So in order to do that, you have to press higher up the field, give yourself a better chance of winning right in front of goal again.
Worked up this near touchline now. KC unable to do anything with it, just out of the reach of Caroline Castens. Headed back on now by Miller. It falls to Calhoun. A foot race. Miller won't get to it. The goal for Kansas City Current, in the words of their own head coach, Vasil Ristov, as there's a whistle and Calhoun goes down. They want to play up-tempo, aggressive, attacking-minded soccer. He said in the broadcast call that you go to their training facility and they have a wall graphic that says relentless attacking soccer in big, bold letters. Aurora has really prevented them from doing just that in this second half, and it's been because of the relentlessness of their high press.
I think Aurora has also, it's not just the high press now, it's the fact of how many players Aurora is getting around the ball, closing that space off, making it predictable. So when defenders are stepping in and winning it, they have a decision right away as well. So it's taking the rhythm away from KC. As you saw in the first half, they were able to start establishing a rhythm, which is what gave them opportunities. And Aurora's done a fantastic job to continue to disrupt that with their pressure.
Plenty of space out wide for Stella Lawson. Quickly rolls it ahead, looking for Annie Williams. In first to it, though, was Kansas City Current, and that's cleared away, out for a throw. Mandy, when a team is making you one-dimensional, like Aurora has been able to do in these last 15 to 20 minutes against Kansas City Current, how do you shake off that rust and go back to being a varied attack like what we saw from them in the first half?
I think first it's being mindful as a coach to not make too many changes too quickly. Part of it is they brought some subs on. They need time to build into the game. As you're continuing to see that, it's tweaking little things here and there. It could be we want to change our shape a little bit because they've struggled really to find a forward pass into their attacking players. And so part of that could just be, how do we want to occupy that space? Do we just switch our formation a little bit? That's a big change for players.
Ngashik gives it up out wide. Kane able to knock it aside, and it concedes a corner.
But Jake, as you can see here, all it takes is one moment as well. One moment to get you back moving forward, to build a little bit more of that momentum and confidence.
Ngashik will trigger this in from this near flag. 17 starts last season for SMU. Ngashik In swinging ball, just over the top, netting it out. Had her eyes on an Olympico there.
Yeah, Taylor had that one covered.
Mandy, as we progress into these final 20 minutes, now less than 20 full minutes of this final preseason tune-up, what are the most important things for both sides to get nailed down with these remaining 20?
I think for KC, as they have their exhibition games, again, the players are going to want to showcase and highlight what they can do because it really becomes an identification thing. So it's really continuing to try to create and build for yourself, but also for the team. It's always fun to equalize. For Aurora, it's almost more like a training exercise. You're up a goal. You want to maintain that lead. If you get another one, fantastic. But most importantly, you're sound defensively. You want to make sure you're doing the basics really well, staying connected, communicating your movements, how you're shifting. Are you passing players along? So more importantly than anything, it's just being really clean and the most basic of things.
Vasil Ristov asking for Alex Dolson to trot over and have a chat. Livy Moore was adamant that it should have been a whistle and a foul against Minnesota after Moore went down initially. And then it was Evelyn Calhoun who was able to draw a foul. You talk about, though, the importance of finishing on a high note, staying consistent for Minnesota over these final couple minutes of this preseason tune-up. To the casual fan, it may sound cliche or almost unbelievable, but how much momentum can a team carry over from a preseason exhibition by finishing on a strong note?
Well, I think you have to look at the quality of the opponent first and foremost. KC's coming in here as a strong opponent, so to be able to go up 1-0 and then to finish that game with that clean sheet would be massive. I think it builds a lot of confidence between you and your teammates, which can extend well into the remainder of the season. And so it's getting to know each other still, yes, but more than anything, it's knowing the quality of the opponent you just played and how you shut them out is a massive momentum builder, and it's something you continue to go on and on with.
DiBernardo, that draws a whistle from Alex Dolson.
And these are some of the moments we talk about. We don't want to give away set pieces in dangerous areas, allowing KC to start building momentum, getting opportunities in and around the 18-yard box is dangerous.
One of the best ways to get a sputtering offense back going is the utilization of a set piece. This from a promising position for Kansas City and Lydia Ungashik. Ungashik over it. Now lays it off on the short option. Here's Wilson. Her cross claimed by Kane.
I'm a little surprised by that decision from KC. A team that's really struggled to get in and around the box. I'm a little bit surprised that they didn't play that ball in to create a little bit of chaos for Aurora defensively. And as you can see now, KC is going to high press Aurora as well, hoping for one of those mistakes.
And here is one here as Ungashik takes it away. Looking for the cross. It's blocked out. Another corner awarded, the fourth of the day to Kansas City.
So this is how a team that struggles with possession and not being able to advance it gets themselves back. It's set pieces. It's fouls.
Vasil Ristov had said the message this week was striking that good balance of when to go forward, when to lay it off. As this hung high in the air, back post, knotted away by Minnesota. Aurora trying to spring free, just out of the reach of Annie Williams. That looked to be promising, and in the last moment, just couldn't put that final pass on it.
It's a good decision. They have numbers going forward. KC, again, recovering runs, hard to defend. So I don't mind that Aurora's looking to counter. They still are organized behind the ball. So the most important thing is to not just give it away loosely.
Williams tries to go to ground. Now Goshik. An errant cross back. Minnesota will settle on things. Aurora looks set to make a handful of changes as we get set to enter these final 10 minutes of this contest. A season full of high expectations for this Minnesota Aurora side. 6th in the preseason power rankings, so says the USLW League website. There was a great story published earlier this offseason about why the amount of talent that Minnesota brings back, as well as the community investment, makes them a real threat to win it all. Right now, Kansas City threatening, punched away by Kane.
That's really brave from Taylor, especially with an oncoming attacking player. Fantastic punch.
Aurora trying to clear the danger now. Calhoun will step in front, hooks this ahead. It's Wines in behind. Sage Wines! 2-0.
Jake, I love how quickly this attack transpired, and this is what we talked about, taking advantage of that space. Nice and easy, quick pass in behind, and as we can see, a nice dance celebration going on the sideline. A great ball from Evelyn ahead, and again, just the composure for Sage to continue to attack at the keeper, leave the goal wide open for her, and then nice slot into the side netting there.
Since subbing on, she had a handful of runs. Just couldn't get that final pass, but you could feel it bubbling. Sage Wines picking right up where she left off in 2024. Well in form.
And that was coming for her. Since coming on, her movement's been brilliant.
And we'll go out for a Minnesota throw. You want to talk about efficiency. 3 shots on target tonight for Minnesota. 2 of them have found the back of the net. I am no mathematician, but that sounds like an efficient day at the office.
I'll take it. There are going to be games like that where you're not going to get many opportunities, so the most important thing is that you put it on frame and give yourself that opportunity to put it in the back of the net.
Well, heavy emphasis on the idea that there won't be many games that are easy outs, as here comes Kansas City again, but in an offside position. For the 3rd consecutive season, the USLW League has changed its landscape, and with it, so has the Heartland Division. Sioux Falls City comes over from the WPSL, fresh off a Northern Conference title last season. They now join the USLW League. Riverlight last year surprised a lot of people, making the USLW League playoffs as the wild card team. Really pushed Detroit hard in that first round contest, but couldn't get across the finish line. You have the 2 Chicago teams merging. RKC returns again. Rochester was markedly improved last season. They had one of the largest win turnarounds in USLW, a +4 win turnaround a season ago.
No, I think everybody should probably be putting a nice little star asterisk by for the game against Sioux Falls. Joe DeMay, the head coach there, is no stranger to Minnesota, having been at Shattuck for a good number of years. So it'll be good to see a good quality opponent coming over from the WPSL into the USLW and what they bring to the group.
That, of course, just makes the path to the playoffs that much harder for whoever comes out of the Heartland Division. They were fortunate last year to get 2 teams in the playoffs, but it's not every year that the same division gets multiple seeds in the postseason. Here comes Stella Lawson now. Lawson's cross headed away. It falls to Calhoun. Calhoun's shot is blocked. Still Calhoun. Sidesteps one challenge and goes down.
You know, Jay, talking about that competition and how it continues to grow in conference, I think is a really important thing for Aurora. I know we all love that it's the consistent wins, all the goals, but at the same time, you get into the playoffs and you're taking a really large step against a markedly improved opponent, and you want to have some of that friction, some of those struggles in season, so it's not trying to just take this giant leaping step into that playoff mindset.
Aurora fans will remember it was Riverlight who did hand Minnesota one of their 2 draws a season ago. There were some real contentious moments in both of those fixtures, especially the one at TCO Stadium. Following that 2-2 draw, it ended up going 3-2 in favor of Minnesota, but a late goal from Riverlight really made things interesting. They struck first off a set piece in that contest.
Having a little bit of adversity helps you to grow as a group. You learn how to lean into each other instead of apart from each other, and that's really what makes a difference at the tail end and business end of the season.
For Riverlight, the question becomes, they too are replacing their manager. Charlie Latshaw III departing in the offseason. He becomes the head coach of the highly touted Des Moines Menace, who have seemingly these last 2 seasons put together an MLS All-Star caliber roster for U.S. Open Cup competition. Players like a Dax McCarty have been playing for Des Moines Menace, as Kansas City will make a trifecta of changes. Going back to Riverlight, though, they do bring back Devin Lynch, who had 8 goal contributions a season ago, 6 goals, including a goal against Minnesota Aurora. Out for another KC throw-in. Toward Kane, straightaway save.
It's better from Casey. You get a player who's in a position, who's balanced to be able to take that shot and put it on frame. Again, as we get into these final 6 minutes, it's managing the time, managing the moment. No lapses in concentration, being really clean with our passes. Making sure we're getting in behind the ball, providing cover defensively.
Worked back on now by Kansas City. Laurie able to just tap that out of play. It will be a throw in for Kansas City Current. Still with juice left in the tank. Breaking free is Minnesota. Rat pushing the tempo. Rolls it ahead. Here's Wimes. Options around. Wimes cuts it back. Falling through. It's deflected away.
I love that, though. She doesn't just place a ball into the box. She finds a target, and they layered their runs well. So even though we missed the first attacker, it falls to the next Aurora player.
So much can be made of what Kansas City hasn't done. And yes, they have not finished their chances. 4 shots on target tonight, no goals. But in turn, a tip of the cap absolutely deserved to Aurora for the way they've flipped things around in this second half. Laid off top of the area, rolled back into Wimes. Goes for goal and fires it high. How about this Minnesota offense, though, Mandy? They're not giving up, even with the 2-0 lead.
You know, the best way to hold on to a lead is to have the ball and keep pushing forward. As a coach, I didn't like to sit back. We didn't want to just take and park the bus, for lack of a better phrase, and just be content with defending on top of our own box and hope and pray that the final whistle goes before something goes into the back of the net. So seeing Aurora continue to push and stay true to their identity, again, that attack-mindedness is part of the DNA of who Aurora is. So I love to continue to see that they're doing that.
No options going forward for Casey Laurie. It goes out for a throw-in as Caroline Castens, the Kansas Jayhawk, tosses it back in play. Kansas City Current, though, they have to feel hard done by their finishing touch today. This crossed in back post, headed away. Now a whistle. Time and again, they've had entries into the final third, Mandy. They've had opportunities. We mentioned the 4 shots on target. They just have not been able to put that finishing touch on it.
And sometimes that's just how it goes. It's the nature of the game. It's one of the reasons I think we all love it, is if wins were guaranteed and results were guaranteed, then what's the point in playing it?
Somewhat reminiscent of, funny enough, the game I called last night on the MLS Next Pro side of things. Huntsville City, Chattanooga FC. Huntsville City, they had 75% possession for the game. They spent so much time in the attacking end of things. They had more shots on target, more shots. They held Chattanooga to under 100 passes completed in the opposition half of things. And they lost 2-1. Gave up 2 goals in the second half after going up a goal. A wise coach once told me soccer is a cruel, cruel game.
But this is something I think that the Aurora coaching staff would want to see as well. Continuing to have the back line tested a little bit. You know, there might not be a goal in the back of the net for KC, but they're still creating some chances, which is what the Aurora coaching staff still wants to see at this point.
King's drop kick a bit errant there, in Kansas City looking to capitalize on the mistake. Castens will have the throw.
It's really well dealt with again. Sometimes it's an emergency defending moment. You allow your group to reorganize, get set positionally.
Nodded toward Kane.
Well done from Taylor. We're in no rush here to continue to move the ball forward.
You have to have some real appreciation for the gamesmanship of the sport of soccer. Just waiting for the defender and then sprawling on top of it.
And that's what I love to see from the women's game more. It used to be like it has to go fast all the time. And it's starting to understand, no, like we want to have a certain rhythm and we want to kill off this game. So what are we going to do? We're going to take our time. I'm not running to go take a throw in because I don't need to.
Lifted up ahead. Here's Sage Wimes out wide. Defender fumbling with the Wimes cross. Lawson now with it. Trying to muscle her way inside. Lawson wins a free kick.
This is almost reminiscent of the end of the first half, a set piece right outside the 18. Different angle here, but again, another opportunity to look at goal in the closing moments of the match.
Set pieces, especially from these sharp angles like this, can be difficult to deal with. What makes a sharp angle set piece like this so tough to deal with if you're a defender?
Well, part of it is you have attacking players. Your body shape as a defender is always going back towards your own goal now. That makes it really challenging to deal with. I'm also noting a little bit of the wind coming across the field here. Sometimes as it's blowing away from the goal, not as helpful versus if it's carrying towards the goal. But all of these things make it a little more challenging as a defender. You had to positionally be able to put yourself between the attacking player and the ball and the goal, and then trying to win that duel while you're a little bit off balance running towards your own goal.
Aurora back with it, trying to salt away the final moments of this final preseason exhibition. Minnesota will shift their focus to Rochester FC this coming Thursday night, 7 p.m. kickoff here at TCO Stadium. The unnamed derby between the two in-state foes. There have been plenty of musings about what that name could be, but smarter people than I can figure that out. Here is Minnesota, and Kuni Harai trying to sidestep again the defender. Watts able to win it back. Lawson intercepts, however. Kansas City trying to find a positive ending to what has been a difficult second half. This lifted back ahead. Falling to Severns. This is Field. Rolls it ahead. That will find Taylor Kane. Alex Dawson sounds the whistle. Full time in Eagan, Minnesota. Aurora closes out the 2025 preseason on a high note, 2-0. Our Star Tribune player of the game, none other than Ava Westland. Able to break the scoring open was Ava Westland in this second half. Getting Aurora on the board for the first time in the preseason, just shy of that 51st minute. Ava Westland is today's Star Tribune star of the game. We'll head to break and return to TCO Stadium to wrap things up. Minnesota wins it 2-0.
They acted so quickly, they'd never, ever let me feel alone. And they said, have you heard of the Dragon Divas?
Go!
We're a team of breast cancer survivors. I almost feel lucky to be able to be in the boat with them. That spirit of being strong and being hopeful, that's a spirit of survivor.
Expert care you can trust. Allina Health. Altogether better.
Twin Cities Orthopedics is ready to go with more doctors, specialty services, and convenient urgent care locations. Ready, set, TCO.
Aurora FC victorious in their final preseason friendly of 2025. A 2-0 win over Kansas City Current 2. Our post-match report here in Eagan, along with Mandy Pokabradsky. I'm Jake Griffith. Glad to have you alongside us. Mandy, your thoughts on a clinical performance for Minnesota?
Yeah, I thought Aurora grew into this game incredibly well. First half was a little more balanced, almost going towards KC side as far as getting a couple more chances, being a little bit more aggressive on the front foot. So I thought Aurora dealt with that pressure well, made some adjustments, and was able to break through with some high press and then continuing to create going forward the rest of the game.
Aurora were able to turn in some highlight reel plays in this contest, but none more important than their second goal they scored on the day that really put the finishing touch on this 2-0 victory. That goal is your Minnesota Lottery play of the game. Thanks to Sage Wimes. Her second goal in the second half, our Minnesota Lottery play of the game.
Again, I think overall Sage did such a positive, had added such a positive momentum building, just her movement off the ball, creating space, and was rewarded with a really good pass going forward and just capitalized on the opportunity that she had.
Aurora will head into the USLW regular season. The three-time defending Heartland Division champions, a rivalry matchup next Thursday night right here in Eagan, Minnesota against Rochester FC, 7 p.m. kickoff. For Mandy Pokabradsky, our producer Josh Sibley, and the rest of our broadcast team, I'm Jake Griffith. Thanks so long from TCO Stadium. Minnesota Aurora closes out the preseason on a high note. They win it 2-0.